Hello and welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers.com podcast. My name's Dean Jackson, and today we got a real treat. We're going to be talking with my friend Bedros Keuilian, who is the founder and operator of Fit Body Boot Camp. And it's a very, very successful, fast-growing fitness franchise that is taking the world by storm. He's built it up to a multi-million dollar company. And in that experience has learned some great processes and disciplines and approaches that can help anybody apply that same thinking to their business and, in his words, man up and take control of all of the things that they need to do to get the most out of both their business and their life. So we had a great conversation. His new book is called Man Up, and it's available on Amazon or wherever books are sold. And I'd highly recommend that you read the book. But here's a conversation about what's inside the book and what we can do to help get the word out there. So, on this podcast, we always take a marketing approach. So rather than just talking about the book, we talk about the marketing of the book. So you get a kind of behind the scenes look at how we would talk about getting the word out about the book and brainstorming some marketing ideas for it, kind of behind the scenes, just as if you're listening in on a conversation just between Bedros and I. So enjoy this episode.
Hey, Dean.
Bedros Keuilian, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm so good. So I'm excited that we're going to get to hatch some evil schemes here.
Yeah, and I love the evil way that you promote things, man. You're so clever. I gotta do a day of coaching with you, if you still do those or not, I don't know, but so that you can tell me how to take a growing franchise and grow it even faster.
Well, I like what I'm hearing. Yes, I do that.
Good.
And we can talk a little bit about that, but we can also talk about your book, which is fantastic, by the way.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much, man. I've just
Man up.
Man up. I've got so much great support behind this thing. It just blows me away. I'm very grateful, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, so, this is kind of an interesting thing because this, the format of the way we do it here is we're going to kind of talk about the marketing of the book and the getting the word out and kind of the structure of all of it.
Yeah.
And I'm, I loved the format of the book, first of all. I mean, taking people, on the journey first. You totally starting with, got to start with you, then you got to start with your vision, and then you got to move on to your team. And so many times people, where they get frustrated is that they're at a level that they're, in my observation, that they don't have clarity on one of those three things that you were talking about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It starts with self-discipline. Then there's vision. You got to have clarity of vision, and then you've got to build a team to help you execute, because no empire was built on one man's shoulders.
Mm-hmm. So what's the big picture here? Where's this going, or what's your intention in doing all of this?
Good question. And so I've been fortunate enough to truly have gone through some bad struggles. And I say fortunate because, look, I come from the fitness world. And when you go into the gym and you work out, no one voluntarily wants to put themselves under heavy weight that burns, that hurts. You could tear your muscles. You're going to be sore the next day. You're sweating. You're hot. It's a crappy experience. But you know that by putting your body through adversity, you then build stronger muscles, more resilient, more powerful, faster, etc. And so by going through all the adversity that I went through in 2011 and 12 and part of 2013, when I launched Fit Body Boot Camp as a franchise in a very naive way, and literally almost had this thing collapse on me, where I went into debt, over $126,000 in debt, almost lost my relationship with my wife, lost my health. the first chapter of the book, actually the introduction, starts with the morning of my heart attack. I thought I was going to die of a heart.
Your heart attack, right? Yeah, right.
And so for me, I had to step by step learn how to lead a team and grow this, Inc. 500 Entrepreneur Magazine 500 fast growing franchise from scratch. Because in life we're taught, hey, you should be seen and not heard. Yet, as an entrepreneur, you've got to be heard. You got to know how to communicate and communicate clearly. You got to be clear on your vision. You got to be quick in making decisions. Yet our mom and dad and school teachers told us, well, think about it, make sure you get all the information, be careful when you're making a decision. So everything we've been taught has worked against us as entrepreneurs, and that's what led to was going to be my massive failure. So I learned by developing these 6 pillars of leadership, self-discipline, clarity of vision, decisiveness, emotional resilience, and of course, building a high-performance team, and that you can actually grow any business into an empire. And so my end game with this is simple. It's simple. I am now taking on equity in other emerging franchises and businesses. And my plan is I take 20% equity with a 7-year exit. And I was just telling our friend Frank Kern about this. I take equity in businesses that I know are about to do the hockey stick and grow. And these are usually coaching clients right now where I find my best equity partners. And I go into this relationship with them for 7 years at 20% equity. And then they buy me out at the end of 7 years. And I've had 3 of these exits and I love them. And so for me, it's easy to install my leadership team, my sales team, marketing team into any emerging business that I see has possibility and scale them faster. And so my goal with the book is to really get it in the hands of entrepreneurs, which is why I'm not doing the free plus shipping offer, by the way, because it gets it in the hands of entrepreneurs. I want to sell it at full price, get it in the hands of 50,000 entrepreneurs. And we'll talk about what I'm doing to do that. And many of these guys and gals are going to obviously reach out to me, and they're probably going to have a business. They all start off as a $50,000 a year coaching client because I have to vet them out. And after the first year, I decide whether they can stay a coaching client or I want to offer them an opportunity to give me equity for a 7-year run. And so that's my end game here with the book.
I love that. And that's kind of a cool way. Like you've got a nice model and you've got something kind of like a track for people to run on that way, because you can tell where people are and start. You can't progress to the next level until you get everything straightened out in the first level. Otherwise, you're bringing all that bad wiring with you, and it carries through.
Exactly right.
I laughed when I saw you had a phrase in there. You can't delegate leadership, and I was thinking about that when you were talking about the gym. That reminded me. You can't delegate your push-ups either.
Right, exactly.
It's something that you've got to do, right? Leadership is not something, it's like your health, your fitness. Yeah.
You just got to do it if you want it to work. You just can't delegate it. I've tried, and I'm telling you, I almost crashed and burned.
So that's a really cool thing. So now it's like getting the word out there. I love everything about the content. The book is phenomenal. It's going to make a big difference for people who read it. And the title, I was looking at when you're going on a journey like that, trying to attract the right people, that's really, I think you've nailed the words that people are saying when they come to the realization. You can't really get to those words until you come to the realization that you've tried to do it some other way. I feel like, exactly right. Like you've come to the realization, listen, I'm just going to have to man up and do this. And that's really, I speak from personal experience on that same thing, that it came to a point where I realized, man, I'm just going to have to man up and do it. And so you've hit those words right on the words that are completely resonant with the emotion that people have when they get to that point. And so
that's the emotion I had.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so
the
it's funny because I'm thinking about Dave Ramsey and his book, Financial Peace, where when you get the right words at the right time, for somebody who's going through financial stress or in financial turmoil, to look at those, to hear those words and see a book called Financial Peace, it almost feels like if you just hold it in your hand, that your blood pressure is going to lower. You're going to get a sense of peace just by having the book. And it feels like, Man Up is one of what I call a declaration book, right? Which is like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to man up, and here's my thing. So I'm going to grab this book, and that's what I'm going to do. It's like getting your marching orders. What's the subhead again? I don't have my book right in front of me, so I've meant to have it.
The subhead is How to Cut the Bullshit and Kick Ass in Business and in Life. And the reason I used that is because I realized very, very quickly that the type of person I want to read this is a person who has this obsessive, relentless personality, but just doesn't have their leadership skills dialed in. And so they are obsessive and they want to kick ass. They don't want to just be good at life. They don't want to just be okay at life. They want to kick ass in business and at life. And those are the people that make good equity partners for me, because I'm a very obsessed person. I want to time collapse everything. I want to buy speed. I want to sit across from Dean Jackson, pay him money, and then go, hey, Dean, we're closing 26 locations every month for our franchise. How do we sell 36 locations every month and grow this thing faster, right? And so I want the type of person that I resonate with. So I figured, I use those words. I had to man up and become an effective leader, and I wanted to kick ass in business and in life, because everything's not isolated. Like, if you are good at life, you're good at business. If you're good at business, you're good at life.
Yes. Isn't that true? Like, you almost like you can't, it has to at least go life and then business. You can't man up in business without manning up in your life first.
Right.
So you've got the order of it right, but manning up in your life is then going to motivate you to say, you know what, I can take this on, and I can man up in my business. And then team up. I mean, that's really the ultimate thing of it. Very cool. So what's the plan for getting the word out? What's marketing wise for the book? Who's the target audience here?
The target audience is entrepreneurs that have businesses that could scale to beyond 8 figures. I'm talking $50 to $100 million companies. One gentleman that comes to mind is someone who I actually own equity in his business. His name is Elliot Hulse. Some of our friends might actually know of him. He's got followers on. Right. Yeah, you know Elliot. Yeah. So he owns Strength Camp. I own equity in his business, and we're going to grow Strength Camp just like I'm growing Fit Body Boot Camp. And Strength Camp is going to be the direct competitor to CrossFit. We're going to crush CrossFit. Another gentleman that I have equity in his business is Jason Capital, and he's a business coach and mentor to millennials. And he's got an 8-figure business that's quickly going to grow above and beyond that. So it's hard-charging entrepreneurs that need better leadership guidance and structure. Anyone can grow a business to 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 million. It's how do you get to 20 to 50 to 100 million? That was my struggle with Fit Body Bootcamp. And as I saw 100 million approaching, I realized, whoa, there's a whole different level of leadership required here. And so I'm looking for that hard-charging entrepreneur that has a potential of a $50 to $100 million company. That's the ideal reader of this book. And the way we're marketing to them is in really just 2 ways. Now, I come from the direct response world like you do. A couple of years ago, my wife came out with a book called Recipe Hacker. Within a 4-day launch with affiliates, we did the free plus shipping offer, sold 26,000 copies of her book with free plus shipping, moved a whole bunch of people, about 8,000 people, into a continuity program at $19.95 a month, the What's for Dinner Club. But I didn't want to do that here with my book. I wanted to sell it at full price because I also wanted to I wanted to get in the hands of people who are going to love it, respect it, and actually read it, and not just buy it because it's a book that you pay shipping for, and that's it. If I become a New York Times bestseller, great. But I'm not after that so much as I am after getting the proper equity partners and then having entrepreneurs read this and helping them time collapse their growth in business and as leaders, which is a big bonus. So I decided we're going to go for bulk orders, and we're going to do a special promotion. So I'll explain the bulk orders first.
Okay.
Lewis House was kind enough to explain to me when he put out his last book this past October, so almost a year ago. He put it right on his website that, hey, when you buy 500 copies of my book, I'll do a webinar for you and your team. When you buy 1,000 copies, I'll do a half-day consulting. And if you buy whatever it was, 2,000 copies, he'll come and speak at your event.
Yeah.
And he told me that in his attempt to become a New York Times bestseller, even though he sold the right number of books, New York Times came back to him and said, hey, because you were actively promoting bulk orders, we're going to disqualify you. And he never became a bestseller with his second book like he did with his first. And so by giving me that warning, we decided to keep it kind of blind. So on my website, manup.com, we had the offer was, hey, would you like Bedros to coach and consult or speak at your event? Coach and consult your business for free or speak at your event for free. If so, fill out this form, name, email, phone number, where you're from, what's your business about, and we'll contact you. And so I had sales reps reaching out and to people and saying, yes, Bedros will speak for free if you buy 1,500 copies of his book. He'll come and coach your team if you buy 2,000 copies. He'll do a free webinar if you buy 500 copies. And so we ended up selling almost 10,000 copies of books in the first month that we started doing this in July, just in July, through bulk orders.
Pre-orders,
and
right, yeah.
Exactly, right? And then so I said, all right, well, what else can we do to get to 50,000 copies quickly? Well, I've got all my friends, but I'm not doing an affiliate deal, but I have put in a lot of money in the Goodwill bank account, as Frank Kern calls it. So for years, I've just come with the giving hand and helped, knowing that one day I'll want to ask for the help back. And so I reached out to a lot of my friends in the direct response world, and I said, hey guys, look, it's not a free plus shipping offer. I'm going to ask you to send out 2 emails. It's just a book recommendation, but here's what's cool. The emails say that because you're buying from me, Dean Jackson, you're buying this and you're getting this email from me, Dean Jackson. When you buy the book from Amazon or your local bookstore, you forward the receipt to orders@manup.com, and Bedros is going to give you an 8-hour course on peak performance and leadership as an entrepreneur that he's about to sell in January. So I'm giving away a $2,000 course to anyone who forwards the receipt to us. And that's doing 2 things. One, when they forward the receipt, we automatically forward them after, confirming the proof of purchase, we forward them the course, but we also are getting opt-ins that way. And so we've got 96 guys and gals who are promoting with those 2 emails. And it's just a cool recommendation of the book. Simple as that. Hey, this is Dean. I read this book called Man Up, The 6 Pillars of Leadership, How to Time Collapse Your Growth and as a leader and as an entrepreneur. And I highly recommend that you buy it. And because you're buying it from me, you get to forward your receipt to orders@manup.com, and Bedros will give you a $2,000 course on leadership absolutely free. So that starts tomorrow because the book launches tomorrow. But I've tested that with my list and also Craig Ballantyne's list, and it worked like gangbusters. And so those are our 2 methods, man. Bulk orders. We're going to keep doing bulk orders for the next 90 days, of course.
Yes.
Between that and having promotional emails go out for the book and then for the $2,000 course, I think we'll hit 50,000 copies.
That's so awesome, man. And then, of course, because of the, this is part of the challenge that happens when you're selling books through retail outlets, that there's no real way to connect with people. That was one of the things that in looking at the physical copy that you sent me and the advanced copy, and I don't know whether you've added this in there, but one suggestion that I might have is I'm a big fan of having crystal clear next steps for people, like finishing the book, where I think your invitation was to give yourself permission, right? It was a really great motivational ending, wish you well and go on your way kind of thing. But what I was longing for, and what might be a good thing to do, is at the very end of the book, before the acknowledgments, going into saying, whenever you're ready, here's 3 ways I can help you, or here's what to do next. So it's crystal clear that there's something next for people to do. Like if people are buying the book, because this kind of book is going to have a longer life than just this promotional cycle. It's a great book. It's not going out of style. It's not like some LinkedIn strategy that's only going to have a 6-month shelf life or something, right? You're talking about fundamental contextual stuff that was, hard earned over the last 10 years, and it's going to be valid for the next 10 years, So
yeah, exactly.
Being in conversation with those people, I always like to look, and we've done this a lot, of using the physical book as kind of the next, a conduit to the next step. Because there's a good chance that a lot of the people that might find it afterward, you never know who they are. You don't get. That's part of the thing of not selling the book directly. That's
exactly
part of the reason that people do the free plus shipping kind of thing, is to get is to build the list. And I really admire your idea of you want to be in conversation with the people who want to buy the book, not just get it because it's free for shipping,
Right.
But so that might be a really great way to kind of give people directives, right? Like lead them to the next step, so that they can kind of get in touch with you,
And you know what, Dean? It's funny you say that, man. And I think I must have had like the little devil and angel on my shoulders, and the angel was the Dean Jackson on my shoulder. Because when I was writing the book, I actually wrote that next step. So I want you to go to manup.com, and here's how I can help you. And if I for my high performance coaching, and I even had a free gift offer. My problem, and of course, hindsight's 2020. So this is a great lesson. It was a great lesson for me and anyone listening to this. When you're writing a book, ask your publisher or tell your publisher before you sign the deal, one, I want the rights to Audible so that they don't get the rights to Audible. So I forfeited my rights to Audible. Number two, I'd already signed the deal. And then I, of course, when I gave them the manuscript and it said the very clear next step, they said, no, we don't want that in there. We're going to take that out. But I bet had I said, look, I want the rights to Audible and I'm going to have this very clear next step in there, otherwise I'm not signing with you, I bet I would have had more leverage. So that was a very painful learning experience for me. But unfortunately, it's because of that I came up with this strategy of, all right, well, if I can just have buyers forward the book, the receipt to orders@manup.com, we'll capture their contact info. But that's going to be a small fraction of the people that would have reached out to us if we had a direct call to action in the book. You're absolutely right.
That's what I wonder. I wonder if there's, like, we've done things like putting stickers on books even after the fact, of having, I don't know whether you're going to be distributing the bulk orders or whether they're being bulk ordered through retail, or how you're handling that.
They're being bulk ordered through retail, because we're also at the same time trying to go for because we're also trying to go for the New York Times bestseller list.
I gotcha. Right. Yeah. So I guess then the thing is really whenever it's getting that, just really being clear on what that next step is for the people who are giving people the word to go and do it.
Right.
To make sure that they know that they can go and get this leadership course from you, because that way you'll be able to communicate with them. But it's a really nice kind of next step for people too, because now they're moving forward on their own momentum. So you really are getting people who, number one, are paying full price. Number two, they're going with their own momentum to go and find and seek you out and take you up on your offer for the leadership course. But then there's no excuse then when somebody registers for the leadership course, that now you've got the opportunity to go with the crystal clear next steps on that. And what are the next steps? And let's walk through that. That, right now you've done all the right things. You've got all this equity and friendship and relationship. Everybody's gonna, get on board to tell everybody about the book. You got a great book, so it's not a problem to get people to want to recommend it. It's the perfect topic. It's going to help everybody who's helping everybody with business. It's a great thing. So then when people do come and register for the course, what's the next step after that?
Yeah, so the next step after that for us is actually pretty fun. It's 3 case study emails of different equity partners that I have. And we don't necessarily say that these are equity partners, but we say these are coaching clients, because they did all start off as coaching clients. And so we show the case studies of 3 separate emails, 3 of our coaching clients who have had monumental success. And then the 4th, 5th, and 6th email lead to content and curiosity of, do you think you might be a good fit to become a coaching client? Let us help you scale and structure your business for massive success. If so, here's how you apply. And of course, it leads them to an application process on our website.
Have you thought about, or do you have a scorecard for this that somebody could?
No, tell me more.
Okay, so this is one of the very best things that I do. I have a scorecard. Our whole thing is about the 8 profit activators, right? And so I have a profit activator scorecard at profitactivatorscore.com. And this is a scorecard format that I learned from Dan Sullivan. And it's a really amazing way to quantify qualitative things. And it basically, I'll describe how it works. So for my scorecard and for yours is actually, it would be built into these. You've already got kind of the 6 pillars, and you could add a couple of more on them. I also think like having 8 mindsets or 8 things, 8 comparisons that you're making. So with ours, for instance, we have all the profit activators or the mindset. So one is selecting a single target market, and you go through and describe where somebody is, so that they're reading it as a with an eye to saying that's the one that describes me. So you might say, you cast as wide a net as possible, and you work with anybody and everybody who comes along. That would be the lowest level of selecting a single target market, right? And so there's 4 columns of this, that it's progressions from the worst possible outcome you could have for selecting a single target market is, thinking that you cast a wide net and work with anybody and everybody, whoever comes along. Then you move up the way, progressively getting better, till you get to column 4, where it's like your idealized version. So you kind of take, in order to create the polls, what's the first pillar of your 6 pillars? What was the first one?
Self-discipline.
Self-discipline. Okay. Yeah. So if you were to describe, this is how you do it. You take the example, if somebody is at the highest level of self-discipline, what would be the you are, or you believe, or the you statement that they would agree that this is what your aspiration for them would be, right? If somebody's really like dialing it all the way up with self-discipline, like you think about who's the most self-disciplined person, let's say Craig Ballantyne, because that's probably true. Yeah, right. So he's definitely the most self-disciplined person I know. And I know that he's been a big influence on you. So let's just say Craig is, if Craig were answering this, it would be, you realize that self-discipline is the key to freedom, and everything in your life is organized to support you in your discipline, something like that, right? I'm just going off the top of my head how it would, that somebody would agree with that. Yes, I'm totally on board with that. Okay. Then you take the opposite end of the spectrum, which would be if somebody was failing at self-discipline, what would be the statement that would be, you like to go with the flow and take everything as it comes, and whatever happens, or you know what I mean? The opposite end.
Exactly.
Of it, right? That's the, that would be how they would describe their current situation in that, with regard to that one. And so what Dan does is these 4 columns, as you're progressing, kind of loosely follow this progression between failing in column 1. So the first statement would be a description of what it is like to fail in that first pillar. And then column 2 is what it feels like to be frustrated in that column. So that means that they're trying to do something, but they just don't know, or they're doing the wrong things. They're taking the wrong approach to it, right? They're beating their head against the wall kind of thing. Yeah. Then column 3 is what we call winning traditionally. So that means that they would consider themselves that they're doing pretty good on this, or pretty well, that they're pretty strong on it, but they might not even know that there's a 4th column, right? That's transforming in this. And so when you look at that, the way that this helps identify where somebody's big opportunity is, and I think for you, it would certainly help identify what track is the right, where to meet them where they are. The way I use it with our Profit Activator score is that I'm looking for, I know that the ones that matter for me, that are kind of baked in, are Profit Activator number 1, that they know who they want to attract, and Profit Activator 5, which is deliver a dream come true experience, right? Deliver the result for people. So I'm looking for people that rate themselves highly on, I know who I want, and I can deliver a dream come true result for them. And then in Profit Activator 2, which is basically lead generating, using direct response to get people to raise their hand. And then Profit Activator 3 is educate and motivate. And number 4 is to make irresistible offers, right? So I know that if they're low on those 3, I can help them with that. Right. But what's harder to fix is when they rate themselves low on delivering the result, right? If they can't get the result, no amount of marketing is going to help that. We got to go to the core and get that shored up, right? So that you can have something that you can shout about from the mountaintops. That you've got that when you do find somebody to work with, that they're going to have an amazing experience. So if you looked at this with the those 6 pillars, or it may be that maybe it's 9, that it's 3 from each of the phases, right, of their personal and their business, or their vision, and then their team, that maybe, so 8 or 9 would be a target on that. And the thing that people do, each column has 3 options. So across the whole 4 columns, there's 12 numbers. So you can rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 12. So that within each column, the first column is 1, 2, 3. So you can actually have sort of nuances within each one. So you could, if you're kind of dead in the middle of that column, you'd rate yourself a 2. But if you're almost at the next column, you'd rate yourself a 3. And so where people what we have people do is pick two scores. They pick where they are right now, and they pick where they want to be. So they see, and for a lot of people, Bedros, they may not even know that column 4 is a possibility, right? So they may be right. If somebody's in the frustrated column, that means that they're doing something, but it's not working. They're doing what was probably told, or what they've read, or what they have been taught to do, and it's just not working for them. That's different than, to be in column 1 most of the time. You have to really almost be defiantly, sort of aggressively not interested in moving forward, and you want to kind of avoid those kinds of people. But if they're frustrated, so they rate themselves as a 4, 5, or a 6 right now, but they want to be a 10, 11, or 12, that opportunity, that gap, is where the opportunity to have the conversation is with people,
That's brilliant. I love that scorecard method.
Mm-hmm. And that may be, I'll get you a copy of Dan's book on that, because he's got a whole book about that scorecard methodology,
Oh, great.
And it's just such a game changer in the way of setting up a conversation with somebody, right? So the way I've got it set up is that when people fill out that scorecard online, it goes into my GoGo clients, but it also goes as an email. So we get an email that shows that Bedros filled out the scorecard, and here's here's what his scores were, and here's what his comments that he made about this. So if I see that you are you're high on delivering a result, you're high on who you want to reach, but you're low on generating leads, for instance, I can reach out to you and say, hey, Bedros, it looks like it's smooth sailing once you get somebody to work with. What business are you in? Just starting a conversation with somebody, right? And that really goes such a long way in helping people feel understood,
And what a great way to qualify the volume of leads you would get by most qualified to least qualified, right?
That's exactly right. Because yourself, you want to get people who self-assess. If somebody self-assesses that I'm doing great in everything, I don't need any help, that's a different thing. You can almost sense the way that everything is, you're really, it's the sincerity of the comments and the thoughtfulness that you can really feel when you see one of these scorecards filled out, that they really, even just filling out the scorecard itself, there's no it's not an assessment, like there's no magic algorithm in the background that's going to send you the you're the otter or whatever. Not any kind of no assessment or evaluation of it. All the awareness comes in doing the scorecard itself.
That makes total sense, and they come to their conclusion on their own.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. Now they've come to the conclusion that, listen, I really need help on pillars, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm doing okay on number 1 and 2, but I really could use the help. This is exactly where I fall down. And I bet that you, with, knowing what you know about these things, could really articulate what their pain is if they're failing or frustrated in any of those pillars,
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I mean, I've done so much research on it from firsthand experience. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant, man. I love that.
That's an exciting opportunity,
I will definitely be deploying that as part of the funnel. I'll tell you that.
I love it. Yeah, especially because if you're going to be generating leads at high volume like that, it really helps to, evaluate and get the conversation started with the right people. It's almost like to help you triage who's the best that you can help. But it also indicates that people are willing to engage in the dialogue. That they want help because they took the time to voluntarily fill this out. There's nothing, it wasn't not mandatory. And so by them doing it, at the urging, like every time, so if you on the bottom of every email that I send out, I include this super signature that always says, plus whenever you're ready, here are 4 ways I can help you. And I say, number 1, be a guest on More Cheese Less Whiskers, and we can hatch some evil schemes for your business. Just go right here and click on the Be a Guest link. And number 2 is always try our Profit Activator scorecard and get a sense of how the 8 profit activators are either growing or slowing your business right now. And that every time we send those out, new people are filling out the scorecard, and I end every podcast with that invitation too. So you're constantly sort of percolating people who've been in your world here, that when they're ready, they kind of rise, and that's one way that they kind of surface themselves.
It's a brilliant method. I love that. 2 simple avenues.
And that's something, do you have a Man Up podcast?
We do. Well, Craig and I have the Empire podcast, which, the whole Man Up thing is about that. And that's how we drive leads for our Empire Mastermind that Craig and I run.
Perfect.
But even for that, we should be running a scorecard. I mean, it just makes total sense that we got to be running a scorecard for that and the Man Up funnel as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, it's such a great, it's such a great tool.
And it's so non-invasive, it sounds like. It's brilliant.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like they get an opportunity to put in their insights, like as they're going. And you can see the light bulbs coming on for people as they're making their way down the scorecard. They get to, they're good at delivering the results, but then they realize in Profit Activator 6, they don't have any after sales service, or they don't have any nurturing of lifetime relationships, and they're not orchestrating referrals in Profit Activator 8. They start to realize, wow, there's like so many things that I could be doing, but I'm not. They're just really focused on, get people in and hopefully help them, and then hopefully find enough people to keep doing it.
Amen to that. Golly, I feel like I'm underperforming now. I got to get behind my laptop and start knocking out these scorecards.
Well, the great thing is once you get the rhythm of it, it's really, it's pretty, it's pretty easy to get it because you know the source material so well, right? So that it's really just the nuances of how you use the language and stuff. Happy to help you with that. I've done enough of them to have some shortcuts to getting the language down and stuff.
That's great.
So it seems like the reason I asked about the podcast is that as this is happening, what happens on the, this could be like a special, this could be a special thing of the Empire podcast, that it's, is it typically just you and Craig doing that one?
Or Craig. Yeah, it's typically me and Craig. Every now and again, I'll do what I call an inside look, where if Craig's not in town, I might take someone who's a high achiever performer in their industry and bring them on and interview them. But most episodes are just Craig and I. Yeah.
Okay. And it's kind of an interesting thing that this may be a really great opportunity for you to document and celebrate people manning up. like if that's kind of I mentioned this to Steve Sims, that, that hashtag bluefishing, like turning it into a verb, of manning up is a thing, but to celebrate like what that actually, what that means, what that looks like, and to talk about the transformations for people. It's kind of
brilliant.
I'll tell you what's pretty, like what I've stumbled on here in More Cheese Less Whiskers. Like I love the format of the podcast that Joe and I do when we have people. You've been on that, Craig's been on that. I love that kind of format. But what I found, this is how I decided to do More Cheese Less Whiskers, is that one of the most popular episodes on I Love Marketing was always the Yellow Pages Roulette episode, which would be whenever the Yellow Pages would arrive, I would text Joe or he would text me if it was his, and we'd, schedule a time, we'd get on the phone and we'd play Yellow Pages Roulette, where one of us would pick a number and we'd turn to the page and then we'd brainstorm about that business category, right? We'd talk about what would we do? We did things like an aquarium business or a roofing business or, whatever it is. And I always thought to myself, people love that because there's a sense of improv theater to it, where you're kind of flying without a net, and they're getting insight into how we think about different businesses, right? How we think about applying marketing to different businesses. And I always thought to myself, the thing that would make that better is if it was actually a real business that we were doing it with and they were actually able to talk back. And so I started doing this. I'm over 100 episodes in now at More Cheese Less Whiskers, where it's every episode is a different business owner, and we come on, and the whole thing, it's very raw, just like what I've shared with you before we came on, that we record every minute of the thing, right? Like you dialed in, there we were, our greeting, everything is the whole thing. And I spend an hour, and all we're doing is brainstorming and applying, marketing, and specifically our 8 profit activators to all these different businesses. And at the end, it just goes so fast, but it's also like, it's really educational for people listening, because they hear how, like, what would be a legitimate live $2,500 consultation. They're listening in on what that would actually be like. And it's kind of an effortless way to create a podcast, because I never have to think about what we're going to talk about, or I never have to have an outline or any kind of thought or conversation about it, what we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about their business, and we're going to talk about it from the beginning of the hour to the end of the hour, all self-contained in there. And so
built-in content.
That's what it is. That's exactly it. And so from that, all of this thing, like all I do is I dial a phone and I talk like this. And as soon as we hang up, wheels will be set in motion, Bedros, that this will automatically forward the audio to a Trello board where my team will take it and do everything that has to happen to get this up on iTunes and Stitcher and wherever else podcasts are sold. And then we get it transcribed, and I have a writer who goes through and picks out 300 to 500 word articles, so that all those emails that I send are written from something that I've said in the podcast, so I don't have to write the emails. So from that 1 hour, it's all this total self-sustaining thing. And I think you've got that opportunity with this kind of community of people who are in the process of manning up, and that could be getting everything to the point where they're ready personally to get their vision in line. And then when they've got that vision, to really set it in motion and find the right team. I think the journey could be amazing.
Oh, absolutely. I just love how Craig has a saying. He says, make sure to use every part of the pig. And that's exactly what you're doing. From the moment that our call started to the moment it ends, then all of a sudden it forwards and to the right person, like a set of dominoes. Everything happens in the right order, where the iTunes and Stitcher happens and the email is crafted. My goodness, I just love how you operate, man. You're smooth.
And thank you very much. And the great thing is, even the super signature items, right? They're all leading to the next things. It's self-perpetuating because the invitation is always be a guest on the show. Go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com, download the More Cheese Less Whiskers book, and click on the Be a Guest link, and let's hatch some evil schemes for your business. And so we have this perpetual, never-ending stream of people who want to be guests on the show. I just pick the time. Craig would love this because I just pick the times on the calendar, and they're filled. Like that's Lillian, who works with me, reaches out to everybody, coordinates when they are. So I wake up on the day I'm doing the podcast. Typically, I'll do them on a Friday. I'll have one at 10 o'clock and one at noon, and that'll be it for the day. And we'll go to the movies. But I just love those days because I wake up and I know that at 10 o'clock I'm going to be doing my favorite thing, which is scheming and talking about marketing. And I'm going to do the same thing at noon, right? And then I don't have any homework after that. I don't have to, that's not a deadline. And I've learned, this is an interesting thing, is I learned the difference between synchronous and scheduled and asynchronous with a deadline, right? Asynchronous with a deadline seems like where you're going to get all the freedom, like where you're going to get the time to work. You're not tied down. It feels like the loose. Just tell me when the absolute drop dead is. But synchronous and scheduled is where it all is, because I don't have to give it any thought until 3 minutes till 10 o'clock, and I get ready and dial in. And then at 1 minute after 11 o'clock, I'm done thinking about it. It's not, I don't have any homework or preparing for it,
That's the real freedom, right? That's the paradox of being an entrepreneur. We become entrepreneurs, hey, I ultimately want freedom, but we lock ourselves into all the schedule, the homework, the after things you have to do after each podcast, and you got it squared away, man. You're done.
The freedom is the discipline. That's what Craig would say, right?
By God. And everybody wants to be Dean Jackson when we grow up, man, and I know why.
Wait a second. So that, I think that might be a cool, addition to your podcast, or an additional podcast that would take very little resource, very little effort. And it almost, here's the thing, when you think about it now, you're at the level where you could mogul up and get a podcast like that done without you even doing it. Like you could have, well, this is great. I have this, I do these Breakthrough Blueprint events all over. And I did one in London, had a guy who has a big property portal website he lives in London, but the property portal site is for Spain, for people foreigners buying houses or holiday or investment properties in Spain. And, suggested this idea of doing a podcast, and he hired somebody who is, was a former television presenter in the UK, just a super pro. And she does the interviews with people who have come and bought homes in Spain, and she talks about their experience. It's almost like the whole idea of it is to people who've made it through that journey of, hey, I think we should buy a property in Spain, to learning the ropes and learning the moves and picking the right place and going through all the new stuff of buying something in a foreign country. And she's, hearing, exploring their thought process and their the lessons they learned, and if they could do it all over, what they would have done differently or what they really enjoyed about the process. So people get to vicariously learn through the experiences of other people. And so she produces these amazing podcasts, and he's not doing it, and it's fantastic.
Wow.
And so I'm wondering about your manning up, that this could be, especially if it's something where, if you take a thing like I do on More Cheese Less Whiskers, there's sort of a thing that I am that I'm doing my highest level things, right? Like, this is my highest thing, is coming up with ideas and brainstorming and in the moment helping people get marketing clarity. So it would be different and difficult to subcontract that, right? Or to hire that out, because somebody's not going to have the same insight or experience with the profit activators as I do. But if we're sharing somebody's experience or sharing their their story or documenting their results or their case study or their lessons, whatever it is, there's lots of people who could do that, and people who are, friendly and curious and articulate and good interviewers, journalists almost, are really documenting these. I've been using a great word I'm calling field reports, that are people who are out using these things in the field, and we're going out and documenting what's happening. And I think that could be a cool thing where where you could create this culture. It's like I mentioned to Steve Sims about blue fishing, right? That hashtag blue fishing, every time somebody's like having an experience or epiphany or a breakthrough or something like that, to hashtag it with blue fishing, or with yours, hashtag man up. And that you can gather these things and, put it together. It's almost like they're the reality of it, right? You almost need like a, who's that guy on Bravo that does the, Watch What Happens Live or whatever, Andy.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of his last name. Andy Cohen, yeah. Andy Cohen.
Yeah, Andy Cohen. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you look at that what he's not doing anything. He's just documenting or sharing what's going on here, that's kind of the thing. If you had the man up, documentarian kind of thing, who's preparing all these or documenting all these, that's a pretty cool, collection of things. So I think you've got something with longevity here. I don't think it's just like a promotion or a launch to get the book out there and then that's it. I think this has that's a real, that's the start of the journey. Step one is man up, and so you're on your way there.
You know what? I see so much potential for it now in the long run. I see the legs now, as opposed to just a six-month promotion.
Right.
That is awesome.
Because I think that's not, you've hit that level, right, where it's not something that is a new phenomenon. For years, every single person who's built a 20, 30, 50, $100 million company has at some point reached the spot where they've had to say, I'm just going to man up and do it.
Yeah.
And they've probably been knocked down a couple of times to get to that point.
Oh, ain't that the truth?
Mm-hmm. It's very exciting, Bedros. I think you got some cool stuff. But you see how fast this kind of stuff goes?
It goes fast, and I got so much more clarity, Dean. Holy smokes, man. Thank you. I mean, here I thought I was going to tell you how we're launching the books. You just showed me how we're launching the Man Up business, man. Thank you.
The Man Up movement. That's right.
Man, you are great. I'm telling you, you are just this evil, and I say evil with the kindest way possible, evil genius.
Evil with a love, yeah.
Oh, yeah, who can see opportunity in ways that most of us can't. You really are gifted, sir. Wow.
Well, I appreciate that. So what do you think is going to be the if you were to unpack it kind of thing, what's your kind of action or kind of awareness from what we talked about?
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you this. As I told Joe at the last Genius meeting, like, I'm the king of taking action. I just, if someone shows me the path like you just did, and I'm literally going to walk out of this office right now and talk to my media team, the 4 video audio guys who sit in the cubicle around the corner, and say, guys, let's start setting up who the face of Man Up is going to be to literally start taking the Man Up podcast global, just like we did with the Empire. We're now the top 10 business podcast with the Empire podcast that Craig and I do. I think I can do the same thing with Man Up. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just right into action. Like, who's going to be the face? How are we going to market this? What is a
now you're a podcast mogul.
A podcast mogul. I never thought I would say that.
That's so fantastic.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, so my directives to everybody listening on this is that they can get a copy of the book, and I'm assuming they can get this free course as well if they just go. What do they do if they get the if they buy a copy at Amazon or at a bookstore or whatever? How can anybody take advantage of the course that you have?
The easiest thing to do, whether they buy it on Amazon or they buy it at their local bookstore, is just to take either a picture of your receipt if you buy it at your local bookstore, or just forward the receipt if you buy it online to orders@manup.com. And, we will, within 40 minutes, confirm the receipt, the purchase, and forward them the login to the High Performance Leadership course, which is a $2,000 course I created. And, that's completely high value there.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, I hope that everybody will do that. I can tell everybody it's an amazing book. So, fantastic. I'm so excited that we got to talk. I'm going to get this up right away for us.
Well, thank you, Dean, and I appreciate the opportunity, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bedros. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
And there we have it. That was a great episode. If I were you, what I would do right now is go to manup.com and get a copy of the Man Up book and take advantage of Bedros' offer for his leadership program that's available when you just send a link or send a picture of the receipt for buying the book. It's a great opportunity for you. So I'd highly recommend it. I loved the book. There's so much great information in there, actionable insight. That's really what I call it, insight. This is a guy who is writing a field report, someone who's done the things that he's advocating and gotten tremendous results. So if you'd like to continue the conversation here, just go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com. You can download a copy of the More Cheese Less Whiskers book. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, just click on the Be a Guest link and we can get together and hatch some evil schemes for your business. So that's it for this week. Tune in next time and I will talk to you then.